I'm just working in this moment on a show that is called Arts and Foods, and I've been studying actually relationship between art and the ritual of food. And what I discover that the work of Subodh has a lot of reference not only to contemporary art but to history. And I will try to give, let's say, three ways of reading. One is that I discovered that in history, the first invention of pots in bronze or in copper were done in India 2,500 years ago, before Christ. So in a certain way, already dealing with this subject of cooking or the instrument of cooking is a long story that belongs to identity of Subodh, which is one aspect of bringing not personal history, but historical elements in the idea of the artwork coming from the old time. Another element that I think is important for Subodh is the political part. Naturally, this utensil, they come from the poor people, they eat all over India, so it's a kind of recuperation of a democratic culture that use the same tools all over India, which makes, a statement about bringing this daily tools inside artworks and making a political statement. That's just, is an accumulation of democratic elements that represent not only the rich people, but also, like art today, but also the poor condition of life. Another element that I think is important is that I discover that the Brahmin are good cook. And in tradition, cook is connected with God, which means cooking is also a very important ritual, and to bring cooking towards another level of society is another political gesture. It's not only the Brahmin that are ritualizing the cook and the way of cooking, but also making this kind of democratic connection between the high level of the society of India, but also the low level of society, which is another element. Fourth element could be the globalization. Everybody eats, everybody uses this kind of tool. So in a certain way, you can see that the relationship between the past and the contemporary moment, where also cooking has become a star system. Television, as you can see all over the world, is dedicating hours and hours on the cooking process. And the cooks are becoming stars. Let's say these are the kind of easy but also fundamental element in order to analyze. Another element that I discovered in looking at the show, and that will go later, is a connection with Surrealism that I will show later, especially the mud piece, because there's a Magritte painting where there is a sleeping person and the memory is in the mud, but I will talk later. I can ask Nacho, otherwise I take over, and we always improvise. So why you start with the fountain, just as the first piece of the show? Why? Because it's the most impressive in relation to the space, or because you want to communicate, to the American audience or the New York audience, this kind of public work, which is not, is a kind of public fountain.
Hi everybody. First of all, thank you very much to coming, and thank you, Germano. I don't know why I put this piece here in the front, but definitely when me and Mark was putting up all work together and deciding how we're going to put the works. So some of them work take time to install, and this particular work take time to install too. So we had to decide it beforehand where to put this works. Otherwise it could have been too late to install by the time I come and installing the show. So two works we have to decide where we're going to put it, this piece and the particularly mud piece. So it was decided, and I think when I came I felt good about it. Okay, this is the introduction with my work. This is not a fountain, and also same time it's like a sound of water. It's a I worked with the utensil over the 20 years, but always most of the time I used the very shining utensils. Last few years I'm using in my works old huge utensils, and I do find every utensils have a own story, own character, and there is another landscape within that, and this just come like around the corner from India, and you can see the day-to-day life everywhere, and my work is coming from the day-to-day life, and this particular works I think fits very well as a first piece of artwork in the show.
I see now, again, improvising the reading, there's a kind of analogies or the kind of reference between the flood of water and the flood of instruments. They look kind of creating together a kind of river, okay? And there's some connection with the sacred river, the idea of purification, because as I was talking, in your culture, the ritual is that food is also part of purification, the way of eating, the way of the ritual of eating. So there's this connection between water that purify, immerse yourself.
Basically, this work is not so much ritual for me. This work is more reality for me. It's a homage to the common people, homage to the people who are struggling in my country. India is a very rich country with lots of poor people. And I just like having a dialogue with them with these particular works. Same time, I'm also talking about the crisis of the water. And most of the place you will see in our country where tap is open and people left the tap open and the water going on. It's about many things come together. And same time, there is struggle in the life. So when you see this is not a fountain, that means it's not a fountain. It's about the struggle. It's about the life. It's about the. It's like many things. They're a story of the life.
And how you collect this kind of material? You go around, or you go to kind of market, or you go to houses and get the old stuff from the family, or which way?
Yes, over the years, it takes time to collect the utensils, and honestly, I bought this on a scrap yard market where they bring the utensils and the broken utensil especially, and they're going to melt as a metal. Before they're melting it, we go and buy from them. And but I did the project when I was in Brazil, and I went in the this slum area in Brazil, and where I taken almost half a truck utensils, and I give them those utensils, new utensils, and I taken their old utensils from that slum, and it was a very small project, but it was a hidden project almost, like not mentioned anywhere, not shown anywhere. But when I'm looking at these utensils, and I said, okay, I bought it from the market. And suddenly my idea is coming right now, okay, next time I will not buy from the market, I will collect from those people who have these utensils, and able to give them new utensils. This is just coming right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's an accumulation of portraits
Yeah.
of people that are using them normally. And you trade and are very happy, I'm sure. You know, the idea of you enrich them through your system. But sometimes you produce yourself also the object sometimes?
New object I do produce. It's not myself, but yes, I commission to the factory where when I have a new stainless steel utensils, I produce it because only one reason, because sometime I make outdoor sculpture and stainless steel has a tendency to get rust, and we produce it in 316 grade to its rust proof, and sometime we do commission the to utensils. Yeah.
And a few of you knows that you are a good cook. How you consider the process of cooking part of your work or part of the ritual that enrich the knowledge of your work?
Absolutely part of my work, I consider, because for any artist, making something is not just making it. It's you have to be who you are, and food and nursing, rituality, many things come together and you become your own self, and I believe cooking and eating food and giving the food is a huge gesture of the creating of my own work, and yes, it's very much involved, my life and my work together.
So here we are in front of one of the early pieces that you did, this triptych? Is it triptych?
It's called family portrait.
It's a family portrait. So it's a triptych of what kind of family? Husband?
Well, can I explain this work?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
We are here for that.
I was working with the utensil like you see for many years, but suddenly I also made the installation with this rack, the utensil racks where you keep in the kitchen in India. Very common, very common. But whenever I go in the kitchen, every middle class family have this kitchen rack and their home. So it represents their life, their day-to-day life, many things. And I always got very fascinated with that. And I am coming from the also lower middle class family. And still my brother, sisters, the way they live, they are in the same way, or they are very, but it's going their home and looking their kitchen, remind me myself, who am I? And I collected from my brother and my sister this kitchen rack, and that's why this work is called my family portrait.
And can you explain the beginning of, from Bahiri?
Brother.
No, Bajiri, the origin of your...
Oh, no, my estate.
Yes.
My estate is, I live in northeast India, 1,000 kilometers away from Delhi. It's a state called Bihar, and
Bihar.
Yeah.
It's kind of very important, the trip that you did from, from the beginning to get out of a certain condition, a social condition, and come to Delhi to be an artist and to recuperate this kind of physical reality around yourself. So I see always your work as a kind of naturally traveling and a trip of investigation about your country, but also about yourself. It's not a case that this is a portrait of yourself in the same time, your family.
Yeah, no, you will find every single home in India, not only in my home, not in my family.
But
only.
this is it's yours.
So this is ours, yes, of course.
And what is another thing that's kind of, that I was trying to relate is to the surrealist part, is this fruit table.
The mango.
The mango. And this kind of frozen condition. I'm thinking about Magritte, about these are very heavy. Is metal?
It's a bronze. It's a bronze and hand painted while on bronze.
And as you know, bronze in the ancient time is considered one of the most important metals. I'm doing now a show about history, and bronze was in the Greek culture, was all the divinity were sculptured in bronze. But now that doesn't exist anymore, because at the time they're melted and so on. So what you see in the Discobolus or the Laocoon is marble, but the original is not there anymore. And what is left after 6,000 sculpture in Olympia can stay in an area like this, the fragment. That's it. There's nothing else. So bronze, and Gupta is using a lot of bronze to do the two cows, which are the two bicycles with the milk, or the Vespa, is a kind of making a divinity of the poor elements, making kind of sacralization of the poor ritual, bringing the milk, going around with the heavy bags and so on. So bronze for him, I'm trying to interpret as always in my life, is just a way to make a precious fetishes of something that is just a mango or anything else. So you start not with the bronze, but you start with the accumulation of this small seed. But when the bronze came in, and how you see it again as a material for what? For making precious or heavy. Heavy means also something important. Heaviness is something that has weight.
The material for me, in that way, I'm very traditional artist. I do use bronze, I do use marble, and I don't hesitate to use any medium if I feel like I'm able to express and able to what I wanted to convey, and this material will be easy to that process to convey. I will not hesitate, I will go for it. And bronze is something, no doubt, it's a very fascinating material. But apart from the material, I like to express you why I made the mango. And since again it's fruit, it's about food, but in India, the mango is called king of fruit. And when mango season came, everybody can access the mango, from poor people to rich people. And it's really common food, become a mango. And same time, mango in Hindi, we call aam. And aam means common. And when we talk about the common people, in Hindi you call aam admi. So it's quite also, I'm playing with the word here. Aam means mango and mango means aam. And somehow, if you translate it, it's called mango people. But also, it's really common fruit. So I just playing with that things too, as well, while I was making the mango. Yeah.
Yeah, but you did also the bread, correct?
Yes.
And but that bread is just showing the process of doing the bread with the
dough. I casted the dough in bronze.
Why again why the bread now?
It's a dough is something since we're talking about the food, making the bread itself is an art. And when you make the dough, making the dough again itself is art. And while you making the dough, it's really you put your two hands together, and when you're making the dough without machine, with your hand, it's like you making some kind of a sculpture. You're making some kind of the process is performance within yourself. And reaching in that state, quality of the dough has to be that perfect water, and you should know how much water going to put in it or not, and what kind of bread you're going to make. So according to that, you create that kind of dough, and that's really fascinated me. So I just casted the dough as a piece of artwork. But casting the dough was very tough, because when I was taking the mold out of the dough, it's always shrink sometimes and so I have to put in the freezer the dough for 4 days to make it hard to make it the mold out of it. So and these kind of things interest me to cast and making it live here.
Mm-hmm. And you can see this piece is a kind of container, but the container has a kind of inside story. That's why I talk to you a little bit about surrealism, because all your work is about memory, it's about dreaming, it's about going back to a certain condition. And this, in this case, what kind of vase is this one? And what is inside? So, and why is on a very strong cement pedestal?
This is the found object. I got it from South India, and including this hole, I haven't made myself. You get exactly this way. So basically, in a very traditional way to keep the food in it, grains, and they put fabric here to, whenever they need a grains, they take out the fabric, they take out the grains, and they put the fabric in it. So, and this is the best way to storage the food too, because you will not get worms, you will get food stay fresh. And this terracotta jar is when I was traveling in South India, I find it very fascinating, so I bring many of them from there. And of course, like when I see object and see other things, I wanted to make art out of it too. And in the same way, when 12th century poet Kabir, when he talk about the vessel, and vessel as a, he said within the vessel is universe and everything, so the garden and thunder and your God seek in it, everything he talk about it. So I was influenced with that Kabir poetry, and I made, since I work with the utensils, so when you will pip in, it's like my treasure, I put it in inside, in this vessel. And that's why this work is. Yeah.
And why this pedestal? You know, there's cement and there's a natural relationship with the construction of the
rope and
there's kind of heaviness that you want to give to the mango.
Yeah, a rope and plaster of Paris and utensils, and with the coconut jute in that in the plaster of Paris, so make it firm and really. And I don't know, when I wanted to put this terracotta up in the high, I didn't want to use the wooden pedestal or something. So I thought I want very natural things looking, and concrete I came to closest. I was thinking about steel as well, but concrete I came closest to, and it's look very organic, although it's concrete, and that's why I want to put it in very.
And this is a new piece, correct?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a spaceship for me, you know, kind of monster. Or a carrier? Is it object of the future or the object of the past?
It's a future, past coming to the future, and future coming to the past. Honestly, when I touch utensils, when I see utensils, especially when I see the huge utensils, it gives me great feeling I can't describe, basically. And
Get excited.
I get very excited, and also it's just the marks in the utensils. It just tell me so many stories, and I can feel it completely. And then this work, when you see this object, you know what is it. You know the utensil. You're very familiar to. It's known. But when you see the form, you don't know what is it. And that's why this work is called Known a Stranger. And yes, I am little fascinated with the time. I am fascinated with the universe, where planet will live, and out of that planet. So my work is same time is I do talk with the in my dream with the space and many things. So, but I don't want to. Everything start within you, from your home to the space. And that's why this work is Known a Stranger, and little bit, yes, it's like a spaceship on something.
And also I think it's a kind of nomad. Looks like the nomad, the traveling person.
Nomad.
Okay. So this the, huh? Yes, it's another subject. That's what I was saying. You know, the artist as a nomad, you know, is just going around with this bags or whatever, and you can see the back here, especially with these 4 elements already packed, and but it's very light also.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it a history of your family?
No, it's a history of the world.
But your family is a microcosm of the world.
This is the yes, and this is the also is a when you see my part of the world, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, is every home you will find very close to this kind of very familiar material. Yeah.
And the rope? Why the rope? The one piece
I
with
like
the rope.
organic objects.
Because they're flexible?
It's flexible, and it's visually when you see the rope, it also looks very interesting. And before I was try to use the rope to just tie up the utensils. And while I was tying up, and many of them I wanted to tie up, so I first put the ropes, and I like it the way it was, so I kept it the way it is.
For gravity also.
So first, India is a country where not so many gallery, not so much for an artist to experiment place. So there was, we founded the workshop called Khoj. Khoj made for an artist, and art lover. So we found the alternative way to express ourselves. And Khoj is a group call, and we 5-6 artists we came together, and we invited international or national artists, and we did the 2 weeks workshop out of Delhi. And 1999, when I did the first workshop with the Khoj, it's close to the village as well. Many villages is close. Is this town where Modi Nagar, where I did this workshop. So I met the person who was working with me, and I asked him to, can you take me your village? And he said, yes, of course. And he took me the village, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was start meeting the people in the village, taking their photographs, and suddenly my idea came, and I asked them, can you give me one object from your home? But nobody was interested to give me object from their home. Said, why should I give you object from my home? And then I asked them, please, what about when I exchange the object? I give you something, you give me something back. And then they get ready, okay, so I give you new object, and they give me old object. So we exchange the object, and I collected this object and taken the photographs of those peoples. And I came back to where I was doing my workshop. And then suddenly I felt, what I'm going to do with this? How I'm going to make piece of artwork? And I was a bit confused and lost. So suddenly I realized where this object is coming from. Then I realized people home, and everybody have a home with the clay and the cow dung. It's a beautiful home, and the people were grabbing the object from their ground, from home, and they give it to me. So I thought, okay, this object has to go to the place where it's coming from. So I made the field, and I buried this object in the fields, and also myself cover in the cow dung and clay, and lie down with those objects, and having a dialogue almost like confession, and try to reach how much I'm going to go, is kind of meditation, how much I can go close to the objects. And I did that in that performance. I did the performance in that workshop. And I collected those objects, and that was it. Well, last year when Sujana from MMK Museum, she came to my studio, and she asked me, what is this image? And when I explained her, and she wanted to interested to exhibit that piece. I never exhibited the photographs, but photographs and object was with me. So it's kind of work I did in 1999, but first time realized in 2014 last, yeah. So this is the.
What about that?
This is the, when you wanted to see the object, you have to take the, put the plastic in, and you can walk and see the object.
You know this piece that I was talking, the Magritte, sleeping?
Oh, wow. Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
This is the kind of picture I was thinking about. The Magritte, you know, the sleeping body. And I think it's the idea of memory, the idea of, you know, getting the body connect with the object, which is nature in the Surrealist period, but unconsciously you do the same, you know, in the first piece is trying to connect your body, which is your dream, ego, whatever, with the reality of the object to create a dialogue. And that, I think, is a very important piece to understand your roots as a creative person. Just to be part of the mud and being related to the buried objects inside. So if you walk, naturally, you become part of it too. If you take this, you go in, you are the same. You become a sleeper that goes in the dream or in the connection of energy between the artist and the object that he found in India. I think that's a kind of important piece to understand the political part of your work, just the steel structures are covering gold. It's mostly working people in construction, correct?
Yeah.
So the symbol, I know you want to avoid my symbolic interpretation.
Please, that's the great thing about it. I never knew that painting you showed me, and I thought, wow. So please.
And I think that's what I call the political part, to take an object or take a material that belongs, to people doing construction with a heavy, heavy life, heavy, just condition of surviving.
Repetitive.
Yeah, repetitive, but also, very strong implication of energy and transform in an altar of gold, that's as an altar. Something that means sacrifice for my, sorry, I'm coming from Italy, so Catholic interpretation is part of it. But it's an altar. It's an altar that burn unconsciously again, burn energy, burn something. So the idea is becoming so powerful for me because I present this kind of political gesture of transforming a common object that the working class use in, a piece of gold. So I don't know if I'm wrong, but...
No, absolutely right. No, thank you, Germano, because...
and also burning means alchemy. Also, there is also the alchemic interpretation of your work, the transformation of the object in something else. And naturally, in the alchemy process, as you know, burning black is the first step, which is called nigredo. You destroy the material, then the material is reborn, which is called albedo, which is growing, and then you have the last part, which is the gold part, which is the spiritual part, which is gold. So in the process of alchemy in the old time, gold, the people, the religious people, metaphorically were drinking gold, because gold means change your soul. So there's a lot of symbolism also here. Questions?
Isn't the gold removed from the normal working man?
What do you mean?
Removed, in other words, it's not accessible.
No, but that's his making, he's transforming this normal object in a symbol. Gold always represents a kind of divine condition. So it's the divine condition of the working people.
Which they can't really quite access.
Yes, but the
Of course not.
No.
But those labor is gold. Themselves they are gold. They don't need to require gold. You requiring the gold. That's how I interpret
Yeah,
it.
that's the political part.
Thank you.
Painting, the painting are incredible. These are all new painting. Can you explain how you start from the object, you collect the object, and then you're...
When you see this painting, when I was collecting the objects, and when I just found this object, I worked many times, I painted the utensils many ways, and but when I saw this object, and when I saw inside of the object, it's the scratches of the people used every day, whatever they fried. This is not particular Indian utensil. It could be global utensil. You can be fry pancake to the omelette to the whatever, dosa, idli, whatever. But what I'm trying to say, the way the pan used and the people used it, they created the universe within that. And when I painted this, it's almost like orbits. It's like a spaceship. And like I said, I'm very fascinated with the time. And the British mathematician Stephen Hawking, when he talked about the time, and when he talked about the space, and he said, if life within our universe and many things in a space, and in one time, we got the signal in 1972, we got some kind of signal from the space, and when scientists able to find out what this sound, they described this written as wow. By the time they describes and they thought, if I give this wow sound back, it will take them 200 light years to reach there. Then they thought, oh, maybe that things exist or not exist. I'm not talking about that, but same time they said, whatever answer is, what is beyond our life or what is in the space, all the answer exists within this planet. So we can find out whatever it is up there, we all answer we have it in this planet. And the same way, when I talk about the universe, I find we all answer we have within our plate. And that's why I'm very fascinated with this, and I find, look at this even, when I found this, this pan, as it was more charcoal here and more burns. I washed it, I cleaned it. When I washed it, cleaned it, still could not go that charcoal away. And then I kept it, okay, now it will be stable. And then again, same thing I painted on Indian canvas. And when you paint that, it looks like, okay, we talk about the new moons, maybe this is a new moon for me. And this work is about that.
Can I add my reading? Please. I see this as a palette, a palette of the painter, and any food is a palette. Any plate is a palette of identity and nourishment, visual and physical. So the food circle become total for me. And, in this, not only the universe, but also the single object become a part of. Everybody can be an artist when he's cooking.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you. If there is any question.
So you said that on your travels in South India and also in Brazil, you found a lot of inspiration. Do you go traveling to find inspiration? Like what informs what in terms of these journeys?
Mostly I travel with the works. I think you don't travel for what you said, for the experience. Inspiration. I don't think so I travel for the inspiration, but I love to travel to focus in my inspiration what already I have. So collecting my inspiration, maybe traveling could be meditation, and that I don't mind doing that.
Someone like you to walk around with him and look at his works, it brings you back to art and opera, I'm sure, where you started so many years ago. So when you ask past or future,
Is a question or yeah? Well, yes, is my future.